In what ways are new technologies taking us towards higher personal growth?
Well, I believe that the intelligent person today is going to become a linguist, as you have to understand language and how to use language, how to package your thoughts, and how to communicate them. And the new personal computers and the new CD, compact disc, interactive techniques is bringing about an amazing change, that the computer becomes a camera or a thought processor that allows you to go right from your mind through the computer to your television screen. This is a power given to the individual which I think is going to be very liberating and going to raise the entire level of society. So I'm very optimistic, and I'm working very hard with my friends like Brumbear and Georgianne Dean, these artists and writers like William Burroughs. They're teams that's working together to produce these programs that hopefully will help us think more clearly and to get our ideas on the TV screen in competition with ABC, NBC, and KGB.
Do you see a conflict between technology and the recent increases in spirituality?
Well, I think they're one and the same thing. Technology without spirituality is Nazism or you know, Soviet control. But spirituality without technology is saying Alms Bowl and looking at your navel. You've got to bring the two together. Spirituality must be able to express itself or herself clearly, and as I say, powerful thinking machines are a terror, a nightmare. George Orwell come true if it's not balanced by spirituality. And by spirituality, I mean a humility, a humble approach to the great energies, and a sense of humor about life, and a sense of tolerance, and in a sense the ability to take another position and to see other points of view. This is what spirituality. But what's more spiritual than having quantum electrical signals coming through the air, picking it up on your satellite disk, putting it on your screen, changing it, moving it around, expressing yourself through these powerful, invisible quantum impulses, which after all are the language of the universe. What you're doing on your computer screen is the language of off-on quantum mechanical clouds of meaning.
What message would you give to our viewers?
Think for yourself and question authority. That's the oldest message of democracy and human species. Think for yourself, question authority, and keep a smile on your face.
R.I.P. Timothy Leary.
I don't think I've ever actually watched any of his stuff before. That was the first time I ever saw him speak for any extended period of time.
That's pretty good, right?
Yeah, interesting. He's interesting knowing where he came from and sort of the common origin of him and Ram Dass, you know, and seeing how they went in very different directions. It's fascinating.
Yeah, and that was in the 80s he was talking about that. So this was all before Zoom, Facebook, and he was still he comprehended where it was going to go, you know, with the camera and how we become a linguist. And it's kind of meta, like what we're doing right now. He was kind of literally describing what we're doing.
Competing with ABC and all these other things, like putting your broadcast out there on sort of equal footing, I guess, in theory, right? Yeah,
and it's everybody having a voice. That's what it's about, man. It's pretty profound that he saw that coming. And I know if Timothy Leary was around today, he would for sure have a podcast.
Yeah, I think that's undeniable.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
that's crazy that he was predicting this stuff so far in advance. And it's one thing to predict just general technological trends, but he was very specific in what he was describing. He was, like you said, he was describing what we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't have conceived that even when I was, even when the internet was just coming out and I had access to it, dial up. It's I would have never imagined that from, looking up porn with my best friend on his parents' computer in 91, that we would be here, having our own TV show, essentially our own internet show.
It is, exactly, man. And that's what's cool about the technology of today is all of us have the ability to create whatever we want. We're the director, we're the actor, and we're the production crew all at the same time. We all have the power to do that. And it's so beautiful to be able to do that. I don't have anybody else. It's just me. It's me, a camera, and my computer. And we all have that ability. Everybody has the ability, especially now with our phones that have 4K cameras on them. It's just really insane. When you can sit down and fathom the time that we're living in and the technology that we have at our disposal, it's like, it's so mind-blowing, but we take it for granted because everybody has it and it's in our pockets and we have it every day. But it's so mind-blowing how far we've come and how fast it's happened. It's really an amazing time to be alive. And I know, like Tim Leary said, you can either get sucked into ABC, NBC, the KGB, you get sucked in, lost in the sauce, or you can balance it out and listen to gurus of the past and, ascended masters, and really get on your grind of self-realization through this technology. So yeah, it's up to you and how you use it, but at least it's good to know that we have it at our disposal and we have the freedom to express ourselves how we want to express ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, like you've mentioned this before, and I think it ties into it as well, is the fact that this kind of mass awakening that we're going through right now is catalyzed by this technology, right? I mean, I wouldn't have discovered the Tao and the Bhagavad Gita and Ram Dass and all these people that have influenced me and helped me find my own way. I would have probably, I might not have encountered them if it wasn't for the internet, because what was the first thing I did after I had my cubicle epiphany? Went online and started typing shit into the Google search engine, and things came up, right? I came across like a book called As a Man Thinks by James Allen, read that and was like, holy fuck. It just led me one step to the other, and it kind of opened me up and helped me proceed on the path. But that was all because of technology. Otherwise I would have been like in the library looking through index cards, like, you know what I mean? What would I have done? Right. It was just all there. And it was like, no, I was just gonna say, it was all laid out for me thanks to the internet. It was just like one that search led to another, and it just step by step kept me going. So
yeah, it's really insane. The time we're alive is really insane. Like, you would have had to go to India most likely, or like you said, at the library, going through the Dewey Decimal System, finding the Bhagavad Gita, finding what that is.
Yeah, I would have never even known to look for it because I would have had no idea that it existed. It was like I wouldn't have even known about it. So yeah, I would have been like, I guess, looking up spirituality. But even that, like for me at the beginning, right after my cubicle epiphany, I didn't connect it to spirituality. I didn't understand what had happened. So even that might have been an uphill battle, because it's like I didn't know what happened. I was trying to figure it out. So yeah, anyways, but yeah, and lots of people I think are, they're discovering people like Alan Watts, right? He's helped a lot of people that I know kind of, see things differently and like understand non-duality, which is pretty notoriously difficult to understand. Like all of his shit's on the internet. Like you can listen to Alan Watts lectures on YouTube right now. Again, without that, I probably would have never discovered that guy. I probably would have never known who he was. And so yeah, the internet is, well, like you said, it's part of like the one mind, right? Uniting all human beings into this giant neural network, essentially, and sharing all of our shared knowledge and experiences together.
Yeah, man. Isn't it crazy how those guys like Alan Watts, Tim Leary, Ram Dass, the list goes on, they're like posthumously more popular than they were when they were alive now.
Yeah. And again, because there's more and more people who are looking for something and who have, again, through the internet, through YouTube, they have the ability to find what they're looking for. But yeah, I agree, man. Like they were famous in their own rights when they were alive, but I think you're right. They're way bigger now. Better known, more popular, more mainstream, if you will, because of the internet.
Yeah, they had to have known somewhat, like some kind of inclination that their words were going to live on. When they hit on the tape recorder, when they hit record, they must have known somewhat, maybe unconsciously, that those teachings were going to live on in some form, more than just on a tape. Or maybe they didn't, and that's what makes it magical. They were just in the moment, like I just talked, and they were them, and now they're just bigger than ever. Like Terrence McKenna, he's all over. Like I don't know, but I think with Terrence McKenna, we probably have the most documentation of him, or maybe Alan Watts too, I don't know. But either way, both of them, there's so much documentation of their teachings that will live on forever. For as long as we have the internet, these great teachings from these great people will forever be in our collective unconsciousness or collective consciousness. And that is like, that's spiritual technology right there. It's like these guys were prophets. The modern day 20th century prophets. And think about, we read people's writings from thousands of years ago. Think about 1,000 years from now, people will be still listening probably to Alan Watts and Terence McKenna and Tim Leary and the likes of them. And it's so mind-blowing to me that they had to have known. They had to have known what they were doing, man. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I think so. I mean, and they were just carrying on messages that were much older than them as well. So
exactly,
you know, they received it from somebody else and they're carrying it forward. And now other people are receiving it from them and carrying it forward, like you and I are doing right now. But it's the same message, right? It's the same message from the dawn of human history, or prehistory even. It's the same basic stuff, but yeah, it's fascinating. And maybe, you're saying like they'll be listening to those lectures still like years from now. Maybe you'll be sitting in a room in VR with them. Maybe you'll get to hang out with them in VR, they'll be able to reconstruct them from all their recordings. The computer will be able to, create a virtual version of Alan Watts, and you and me can just like hang out and chat with them, right?
Honestly, I don't doubt that. Yeah, we have the hologram of Alan Watts right there, and he's just speaking. I don't doubt that at all, to be honest with you, man.
Yeah. That'd be pretty rad to be able to sit down and hang out with these folks, and that's even if they're virtual reality.
Yeah, that's some like quantum immortality right there.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, it's coming as long as we don't blow ourselves up or
exactly.
get hit by an asteroid.
Yeah, all of this, as long as we don't have nuclear war, then yes, this is what will happen. That's funny. I have visions of the future too, like that. I'm like, oh, and then flying cars and the metaverse and blah blah blah. But it's if an asteroid doesn't hit.
Yeah.
If the nuclear weapon doesn't get, if the nuclear war doesn't happen. So it's like, it's weird. I don't think there'll be any catastrophe, because like, where do these visions come from of this better Earth? Like, where does this new Earth ideal come from? I think it's like showing us visions of the future, man. It's like that message that these guys, I like how you said it's a message. It's the same message that's been said throughout time. And it's almost like it's up to these certain ascended minds to pass the baton. It doesn't end. There's no ending to this to the knowledge, this timeless knowledge. And Terence, Tim Leary, Alan Watts, whoever it is, the yogis of the past, they did it with the technology that they had. They had books, they had tape recorders, but they didn't have podcasts. They didn't have the internet where it is now. So I think it's up to the minds of the time to pass the baton of the timeless knowledge with the technology that is at hand in the current time. And maybe in the future there'll be different technology, but it'll still be the same teachings, the same eternal self knowledge that will be just be this current. It's this ever flowing current that flows through certain individuals, and it'll just continually ripple throughout time. I like the way you put that, man. It just never ends. It's just keeps going.
And part of me thinks too that the reason it keeps getting hammered every generation, every 100 years, somebody new shows up, and either they claim that it's new or they admit that they're passing it forward, but it keeps happening because the vast majority of us don't get it.
Yeah,
I think that eventually, if we can get it across to enough people, that message won't be necessary anymore when we all really experience the oneness and we all see the truth in it, and the fact that there is no you and me, it's all one. Then maybe a new message will be needed. But until that time, this is the message that we need to get into our thick skulls, is that, listen, there's no me without you. Mm-hmm. There's no you without others. You can't separate it. There's no such thing as an individual, because everything about you is predicated on others, your parents giving birth to you right off the bat. Without other people, you don't exist. Without other people, I don't exist. And even now, as we sit here, how many people are invisibly involved in what we're doing right now? Like, how many human beings are involved in, they work for the internet service provider that keeps the internet connection to your house going, but people who manufactured your microphone, the people who boxed it up and shipped it, the store that held it, that you bought it from, like everything that we're doing is connected to a million other people every second of the day. But we think that we're just these individuals in isolation. That's the central message that we need to get over, is that, dude, there is no you without me. Like, we need each other. complete each other. We create each other. We co-create this world together. And as long as you're thinking me above all and me first, and screw those guys, they're not part of my team, then we're stuck. And that's why the message keeps coming back over and over again. Because it's like, well, we're stuck. You guys still don't fucking get it. Jesus came and said it. Buddha came and said it. You know, like fucking Alan Watts came. All these people constantly saying the same shit. You know.
Yeah. When are you monkeys gonna get it?
Yeah, exactly. That's the next step in our evolution, is to realize that we're all one and that we're all kind of like parts of a greater being. And it behooves us to work against each other. It would be like if your gut and your heart and your liver were all fighting each other. Like your body wouldn't do well. You would die, right? Like all of these organs and all these bacteria and all these things that create Gary are working together. And that's why you're a healthy, vibrant human being. If your body starts to work against itself and all these different parts are fighting each other, the body is not going to survive. So the planet is a body. We're all part of this cosmic body, and we're fucking fighting about skin color, sexual orientation, political alignment. It's like, this is why the message keeps coming back over and over again, because we still don't fucking get it.
Well said, man. Well said.
Well, I don't know. It seems that way to me anyways. I can't say that it's the truth, but it certainly is my truth, and it resonates with me, and it seems to align with all these other people that we're talking about. You know, I read Marcus Aurelius. He's telling me that we're made for each other, like the rows of the teeth, upper and lower. Imagine if you only had teeth on the bottom, right? It'd be hard to chew. That's how we work together, right? We're like teeth. We gotta work together to chew things, right? So yeah, it's been the same message for a long time, and it makes a lot of sense. I see it in my family. When we work together, we have a good time. Things happen, you know, the house gets cleaned, everybody's laughing, we're playing music and dancing and having fun. Or somebody's got a shitty attitude and doesn't want to help and doesn't want to contribute, and then the whole thing falls apart. So it's like on a macro scale, on a micro scale, you can see it everywhere, right? It's like everything's better when we're working together, and we have better successes. It's more fun. Like, it's just all positives. So why wouldn't we do this on a global scale?
Everything's better when we're working together.
I didn't mean that, but I didn't mean to make it sound so cliche and corny, but yeah, it's kind of the way it is in my experience.
That's good though. It's because we have the disease of the ego, and the ego, the sense of individualism is what takes us away from that essence. And we do our practices. We have to remind ourselves almost daily that we're all in this together.
Yeah,
we're all in this together. It seems like something that should be held within all of us, and it should be so simple to keep and grok within us. But I don't know. It's just like the world takes us away from that. It's so easy to get sucked out of that mindset, but it's also so easy to get sucked back into the mindset of the eternal unity that we have. So it's funny. It's a funny game that we have to play with our minds to be able to be like, no, we're all in this together. I'm not that important. And like you said, I like how you said that, like, you know, someone had to package up this camera and this microphone and all of this. And that's so true. Like everything, we're all dependent upon one another in all types of different ways and you know, different locations. Like this was made in Australia across the world. It's crazy, man. And yeah, man, I don't know.
There's like thousands of people invisibly in the room with us right now that all contributed to this conversation, or contributing to it as we speak. Even you don't see them, you don't know their names, but you know they exist because here we are with all this stuff doing what we're doing. And it's like, it couldn't have happened without all these people.
Yep. We're all servants to each other.
Yeah. That's a good way of looking at it. And then because you know, I like to think of myself as a servant as well. And I always tell my my family, you know, they're like asking me to do things. And I'm like, of course, right? That's my job. Like, I'm here to help. I'm here to serve you guys. But the problem with that point of view is that if you have a servant, you also have a master. What you're saying is spot on. We're all servants to each other. There's no master. We're all here to serve each other in different ways. And that's beautiful, man. I've never thought about it that way, but that definitely resonates with me, man.
For sure. I think just being a human being is being a servant. I mean, it's being a servant to God, but what is God? We're all God. So yeah, how do you serve God? You serve each other.
Others, other
That's
expressions. Yeah. Very true.
That's what they were trying to tell us. I mean, that's what we're here to do. I don't know how else to really say it. I mean, it's pretty simple. We're all here for some reason. We're not here to do nothing. We're all here. You know, we have these hands to do something, this mind to think and create, and it's to create a better world for each other. I know it doesn't seem like that. The mainstream media might not see, portray that image to you, but I fully believe that's what we're all here to do, is create a better world for each other. And it just feels good doing that, right? To think, or at least hold the ideal that you're giving back a little bit of yourself for others. Like, that feels good, right? It feels, there's something in my bones, in my soul, that just, I resonate with it. Like, there's something I'm like, ah, yeah, that's what we're here for. And we all do it in different ways. That's true. I mean, even if you're just like, if you're the garbage guy, shout out the garbage people of the world, man. Honestly, they do a great service for the world. I wouldn't want to be a garbage guy. Shout out the garbage people, whatever, or anybody, the mail people, even the fast food workers, man. Like, we're all, no matter what your task is here, we're all serving each other. And if we could just, like, I know it's hard to get into that mindset on a Monday morning and you're up early and it's cold, but if you can somehow think like, well, I'm not only doing this for a paycheck, I'm doing this to serve others. Definitely hard to get on that mindset, for sure. But I think if we can be that servant and the master, we're the servant and the master, kind of, because others serve you, so you're the, I don't know. It's a back and forth relationship. But if you can get on that wavelength, it makes life a little bit easier to bear. Our sufferings are a little bit easier to bear, knowing that our work isn't in vain, no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's we have this kind of like negative framing of things like servants, and like you're talking about certain careers that seem like undignified or like lowly in some ways, like the garbage man and stuff like that. And it's like there is no lowly job. Every job is there for a reason. And like you said, even the fast food workers during the pandemic, we had we made a big point of like giving shout outs to all the essential workers, right? And who are these essential workers? Like grocery store clerks. Like it wasn't like the cops, that we were shouting out to. It was like the people who stock the shelves, the people that in the past probably were never acknowledged. All of a sudden it was like, holy shit, without these essential workers, we would be screwed.
Yep.
So like, it kind of shines a light on the fact that there is no trivial job. There is no low, better, worse job. It's like all jobs are there for a reason. Maybe some of them will be obsolete in the future, but it doesn't mean that at the time they weren't essential and important jobs in themselves, right?
For sure, man. And even if you don't feel like that, one could, in their free time, go within themselves and ask themselves, well, how can I contribute more? What is it within, what am I good at? What do my circumstances allow me to do that will facilitate a better world? We're all capable of doing that, for sure, in becoming the servant in maybe not fast food, maybe it's something else. But either way, it's like we have to act. Either way, like there's no such thing as inaction. I mean, I guess you could, but even when you're doing nothing, you're doing something,
Yep. So your body's doing stuff. And yeah, you need to, what I was going to say too, is you're a servant to this body at the very least. You have to keep it alive if you want to keep going. So yeah, there is no such thing as inaction, because you got to feed yourself. You got to sustain your body. You got to make sure that it's, it's got what it needs to stay alive. So at the very least, you're a servant to your body. But then if you can branch out and be of service to others as well, I agree, man. It feels good to do good. And it took me a long time to realize that, but it's like holding doors for strangers fucking feels awesome. Even if they don't acknowledge it, even if they don't say thank you, it's like, it feels good to be nice. Letting people in traffic, like people are trying to merge in front of you and you just give them space. People are always like, whoa, what the fuck? Like they look back and like wave at you because they're like, it's not normal. Most people just will rush ahead and try to like prevent you from getting in. Like I'll let like 2 or 3 cars in front of me. I'm like, I don't care. I'm not going to be late because of it. Like, you know what I mean? It's like easy, simple, feels good. It's selfish in a way, but it feels good to me to do these things. And so I'm like, yeah, perfect. It's a win-win, exactly. Right? Yep. Doing something nice and I get to enjoy the benefits as well. So
yeah. And it feels good for a reason, because it's a message, I believe, at least for me, to remind myself that that's what life is all about. In the midst of when I'm driving and, I'm thinking about my day and what I have to do, the drama of life and, bills and blah, blah, blah. And then, like you said, somebody lets me go or I let somebody go. And I'm like, oh, that's That's what life's about, man. It's like even in the littlest moments like that, it's like, oh, that's why. And that, you know, like I said, it feels good because it's like that's what we're all here for. Imagine a whole society aligned on that. Like, oh, I'm gonna give back a little bit today of my time for you. That's what we're here for. That's what this life is all about. And you're not gonna get that on TikTok and the mainstream media, bro. You really just
Yeah.
have to like go within and find that. And it's true, man. I don't know how else to say it. Once you get on that wavelength of we're meant to give back a little bit, you don't go back after that. Like there's no other way to see life because yeah, you do feel good from it. 100%. It makes you happier, but it also makes other people happy. And it's like a win-win. It's just like love brings love. I give
Yeah.
love to you and you give love back. And it's just this perpetual cycle of love and it keeps going, bro. It's all about love.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what it comes back to again, like always. But yeah, and it costs you nothing, right? Like I was picking up food from a restaurant a couple weeks ago and they were like really busy. So I was waiting for like 15, 20 minutes. Like they told me show up at this time and I showed up and I waited an extra like 20 minutes or something, right? So I'm like on my phone playing chess or whatever, like makes no difference to me. Like it's Friday night, right? So anyways, I get up to grab my food and the lady's like so apologetic. Like, I'm so sorry it took so long. I'm this, that, and the other. And she's like, you could tell she was like almost afraid that I'd be mad at her. And
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just happy to see you're a local business thriving during this fucking crazy COVID times. Like, I'm just happy that you guys are busy and doing well and business is good. Like, I don't care waiting 20 minutes. I'm grateful that you guys are thriving. And she was like, oh my God. And she gave me all this extra pop and stuff. And I'm like, I'm just, I wasn't trying to get anything out of you. Like, I'm just telling you what the truth, like all these local businesses, all these local restaurants are closing because of the pandemic. You guys are here. You got a lineup. I'm not going to be mad at you. I'm happy for you. I love your food. I want you guys to succeed. Right.
Yeah.
But just that sort of approach and that attitude, it costs me nothing to be nice to someone and to be kind and to not ream them out. Cause it's like, it's not her fault that it took 20 minutes extra, obviously.
For sure.
But yeah, it costs you nothing. And it made her day. Like it made her, she was like so happy after I left. And, everybody behind the counter was like, see ya, and it's like, all you had to do was just be nice to them. Like it costs you nothing and it makes a huge difference in other people's lives. And it also feels good. So it's selfish, but making somebody happy, a stranger happy is like, fuck, it makes me happy. So it's like, well, there you go.
And I think it starts with understanding, right? So you understand that other person is going through their own shit. They might have had a long shift. They're going through their own stuff. Who cares if they're a little late?
Yeah.
You can kind of like take yourself out of your business of your head and put yourself in somebody else's business and understand and fully grasp, why the food is a little bit late and the situation of being maybe a struggling restaurant during the times that we live in. It's understanding, man. And first you have to understand yourself, which we're all doing, but the more you understand yourself and what goes on in your own, your own craziness of your mind and the skeletons in our closet and the shit that we have to go through.
Yeah.
Once you can kind of grasp that a little bit better, then you're like, wait a second. That means she's going through that same stuff too, and so is he. And all of us, we're all going through our own stuff. So yeah, it comes down to going back to him, and you gotta like go within and kind of like understand and start with a essence of self-inquiry. And from there, yeah, man, as above, so below. It's what's reflected within you is reflected on others, and that's the gamut. That's the game. It's like it starts with understanding for sure. Because I mean, think about like how you would have reacted differently if you weren't like a conscious individual. You would have been like, oh, I'm hungry and my food's like 20 minutes late. What's up with this lady? This restaurant sucks. 1 star on Yelp, right? But it's like, but it's because you understand your own struggle and your own suffering that you can allow yourself to understand her own struggle. You don't fully obviously understand her life situation, but you can get it that, it's not a big deal. Shit happens. It's whatever.
Yeah, you're right. I think understanding is the sort of first step, right? Because the other thing too is like you might remember a situation in your life where you were in her position, you worked at a retail place and there's a big lineup and people are waiting and it's not you realize like, well, in that situation, I wasn't creating the delay. It's just sometimes there's lineup, sometimes people have to wait. So it's like I would appreciate it if the customers didn't ream me out when it happened to me. So I'm not going to go and ream this lady out, especially considering she's just the hostess. She's not cooking the food. She's not, she's just taking the orders. Like, Yeah. So you're right. I think it has to do with understanding and reflecting on your own self and thinking like, okay, well, have I ever been in a situation like this, and trying to like relate to what's happening through your own experiences. I find that helps, right? Because again, like you said, somebody's having a bad day, you can be compassionate to them if you remember that you have bad days too. And, you know, you've been there yourself, and it's like, yeah, you know, like cut her some slack, right? Like we've all been there. So, but yeah, if you think like, I'm above everyone else and my desires are what matters and what I want and blah, blah, blah. It's like that's when you get the 1-star Yelp review in that situation. Cause it's like, it's all about me. And I was told to show up at this time and they were late. And oh my God, how dare they make me wait? Cause I'm so special. It's like,
Yeah, man.
you know, like that's the ego again, right? I'm so special. How dare they make me wait? How dare they speak to me this way or whatever, that whole like indignation, like righteous indignation. That's a very potent product of the ego, I think.
Yeah, pride is ugly.
Yeah,
I mean, well,
it is.
it isn't. There's like, it's good to be proud of yourself and your accomplishments, but not too much. Like there's a limit to pride. It's like, all right,
yeah,
you know, you're not that important. We're all important, but we're all important equally. You know,
we're all equally unimportant together. Yeah.
We're all equally unimportant.
Yeah. If we're all important, then none of us are really important.
Exactly.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting, right? I was going to mention to you too. There's a guy I think you'd probably find interesting. You should have him on your podcast.
Who's that?
His name is Donald King, and he's an avatar, and he talks a lot about.
Yeah, you have him on yours, right?
Yeah. I think you guys would have a good convo. I'd be interested to hear you guys. But yeah, he talks about the ego as a parasite, right? He in his understanding, it's like an actual part of the brain, and it's like a parasite that tries to take over and, you know, hijack the host and stuff. And it's an interesting take on that. I mean, again, I don't know if there's a physical part of the brain that's actually responsible for the ego, or, you know, I think he and I kind of define the ego differently, but he's got a very interesting take on everything.
I believe that.
I mean, it is a parasite in some sense, right? I mean, it takes over, like it's not you, but it tricks you into thinking that you're it and that it is you, and you identify with it, and it becomes like a part of you, but it's just a construct, right?
Yeah, it's just a construct, exactly. It's not like a separate entity. Because no matter what, you have to act out of ego. But it's like, don't become the servant to the ego. The ego serves the greater self. That's the essence that I think you have to keep in mind. Because no matter what, I'm acting out of ego doing this, but I don't approach it with like some kind of self indignation, like I'm some kind of like important. Look at me. Like we all have to act out of ego no matter what. But it's like it's just another tool in our arsenal, and it can be a parasite.
Yeah, I think it can hijack everything.
It can hijack everything, for sure. With people, I mean, most people I think are on that. We're living in the ego, the lower chakras. But it's like you can escape the lower energies, the lower vibrations, but they're still present. Like the ego is always going to be present for as long as we're a human being. It's just that we don't let it get the best of us and don't act out of ego. We use the ego to act out of love. Love transcends the ego.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like there's like it's like an onion, right? And like, excuse me, the outer layer is like the ego, and that's like just fabrications, right? It's like a story that you tell yourself, and then there's like probably a core of authentic self that is again like has certain traits. Like Gary, you have certain things that are authentically you, certain qualities, certain values, certain traits that are actually you, and then there's stuff that you build on top of that to protect the authentic self. And that's kind of the ego in my mind. Like it's a defense mechanism in some ways, right? You don't want to be exposed. You don't want to give your authentic self out there to the world because you might get hurt. People might make fun of you. People might ridicule you. So you build up this kind of like layer of protection that's your ego. And then you start to identify with that and start to think that it's actually really you. When in fact, it's just this layer that you've kind of built up to protect yourself in different ways, or to preserve the authentic self, right? To defend it. And and so yeah, it's hard to be vulnerable, and it's hard to be your true authentic self, because yeah, I mean, as kids, that's all we know, and I think that's when the ego starts to get built up, is because
Yep.
you go to school and you try to be your authentic self, and some little fucking shit makes fun of you and bullies you for it. You're not going to do that anymore. You're going to be more guarded, right? You're going to try to keep that part of yourself that was picked on, protected, right? And I think that's probably how it starts with the ego. But I don't know. It's just what I've been spitballing lately, thinking about it.
I think so too, man. It's a deconstruction process to deconstruct your ego and the conditionings of the past. It takes time, for sure, and it definitely is. It's built into us from a young age. I mean, can you imagine what would it be like if we didn't have ego? We were like born. Imagine being born in like a pack of wolves. Probably don't have that much ego. Like, you probably have like, wolf tendencies or whatever of the pack, but
Yeah.
there's probably not much ego because like you have to. I think a lot of animals don't have ego. A lot of animals are literally pack animals, and they almost have this like collective intelligence.
Yeah. Hive mind.
Yeah. Right.
Yep.
I don't know.
I agree.
It's definitely from our conditionings for sure, and it's getting ever more so instituted in our mind from our technology with social media. That just enamors the ego even more. Like if you already have that conditioning in your head, go on Instagram or TikTok, and it's hard to escape that, man. I don't know. There's some people that I don't even think will be able to escape, like these influencers and rich people. I think a lot of people like look up to them in their lifestyle and like, oh, I wish I was like that. But nah, they're in this like really dark hole of the ego, like very tight knit. Well, they're like, it's very hard to escape. Like if you got like 2 million followers on Instagram and that's all you know, you've been famous since 16 because you got a big butt or something, man, good luck finding yourself, because like the only what you've been told your whole life is that you're beautiful or that you're funny or that you got a really nice car and you got a lot of money. And that's not the true self. That's just ego. And people, you got 2 million people telling you that every day. That's tough, man. That's like some bad karma. And I mean, I'm not gonna say I don't want that stuff. Like obviously we all want money and clout. Maybe not all of us, but a lot of us, we want, some kind of influence, people to tell us we're important. But if you do that from like a young age, I think it's gonna be hard to see through that. I think it's like really, you put yourself in a really, really tight place of the mind. And what happens in 40, 50 years when you're not so beautiful anymore? or your car's not as nice or whatever, you just fall off. That's the ego death right there. But it's what I'm trying to say is I don't know. It's like when you can see beyond egoistical thinking, the things that matter so much in the world don't matter so much to you, money and power, fame, clout, big butts. It's like, yeah, that's all cool. It's all part of the story and the play of life. But what's really important is seeing beyond that and using it to further the betterment of humanity,
Yeah. Again, like I'd like to think that if I had lots of money, that I would use it wisely, and that I would be generous with it, and that I would help others start their businesses, and I would help, all these people do all these things. Cause like I already have everything I need. I might buy a piece of land and start a commune, but other than that, I don't crave anything materially. Like I have, as long as I have a roof over my head, it's comfortable space, obviously. And, I can fit all my family in there. I'm pretty happy. So, if I had millions and billions of dollars, like I would like to think that I would be doing good stuff with it, not just, charitable donations for tax receipts, like actual good deeds with it, because what else are you going to do with it? Right. How many cars can you own? I mean, like I have a 2003 Dodge. I just don't caravan. I've been driving that thing for a long time. I don't like, I like vehicles that get me from point A to point B. I don't need anything fancy. Like, what would you spend it on? If you had millions and billions of dollars, like, even if you got yourself really nice things, you still got a bunch of money left over. What are you going to do with it?
I don't know. And most people just continually fill the bottomless pit of the ego. Just keep buying more and more and more. That's the society that we live in. You're not happy until you get the Lambo. or insert whatever material possession it is here. There's just like this constant. That's the thing with the ego too, is it never stops, and the more you feed it, the hungrier it gets. And it's that's parasitic, definitely, for sure. It's like this bottomless pit of just more, and that's the paradigm that we currently live in the United States and the Western world. It's like, oh, it is a sickness, man. It's just like you need more. You need to be hotter. You need to have more money.
Yeah, more followers, more whatever.
But nah, man, it's not like disregard all that. No, it's use that influence and that money for others. Yes. And there are people on that wavelength. I can't think of any particularly right now, but I know I've seen philanthropic pursuits from people that have it. I'm like, oh yeah, they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the popular paradigm.
No, it's not. And like the thing that gets me, and I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent, but I think it's related. There are people out there who are like, I don't know if you would call them self-help teachers or spiritual teachers, or they're selling something. And like, so one example of a person that I know a lot of people who like this guy, and I personally think he's a bit of a grifter, is like Joe Dispenza. I don't know if you've heard of this guy. A lot of people love him. And again, like I've heard him, I've seen video clips of him. What he's saying is great. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with anything necessarily that he's saying, but when you like buy his book and it's like, oh, refer to the CD for the guided meditation. Oh, now you got to buy the CD. You want to go see Joe Dispenza. He's charging you like $5,000 to go and hang out with him. And it's like, to me, that's a sign of somebody who's doing it for the wrong reasons. I understand making money off of this, obviously, because if you want to do it for a living, you have to make income somehow. But like, don't you think a guy like Joe Dispenza could make enough money off of just like YouTube ad views and clicks? Like, does he need to be charging you for the book, the meal plan, the CD with the guided meditation? And then also, if you want to go see him, he's going to fleece you there as well. It's like, it's free, man. All the greatest teachings that I've ever come across are free. They don't belong to anybody. So anytime somebody tries to monetize it and make like a really lucrative business out of it, to me, that's, again, that's a sign of ego. He's not doing it for the greater good and just charging just enough money to keep himself afloat. You know what I mean? He's like, he's making good bank, right? Like Tony Robbins, another example. Like, you want to go see that guy talk, you want to go to one of his seminars or whatever, you better be rich, because I can't afford that shit. So it's like, wait, if you don't have money, you can't get help? Is that how it works? Like, you know what I mean?
I agree, man. And like you said, it's free. You don't need any of that.
Yeah. I mean, it should be like freely offered. And if you want to donate or if you want to support me, I greatly appreciate it. Namaste. Thank you. God bless, whatever. But to me, it's like, I'll charge just the bare minimum that I need to, in order to basically break even or make a little bit of money to support myself. But I would never be fleecing people and like, buy this, buy that, and all these gimmicky products and stuff. And it's like, dude, it's not that complicated. You don't need like a guided meditation CD-ROM. You don't need all that stuff. Just give us the goods, man. Like, stop trying to nickel and dime us on every little piece, right? How
they would probably justify that as well. The money that you pay for the program and the CD and the mail plan allows me to be able to continue my work. But then it's like, well, where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Where's your house? Let's see your house. Let's see how many cars you own. Let's see what you're, let's be transparent with us, right? And it's like, if you're not living in a modest home, if you've got a mansion somewhere and 4 cars and all this stuff, it's like, you don't need that shit. You're not practicing what you preach, right? Like, you're a hypocrite in a way. But again, that's judgment. And I don't know what Joe Dispenza, maybe he's only charging the bare minimum. Like I'm saying, maybe that is the bare minimum for him, is, to stay afloat and to kind of, maybe he's not fleecing people, but I don't know. It just feels gimmicky when those guys, like, they're selling all these products and buy my supplements and and it's like, just tell me what I need to put in my body. Don't try to sell me yours. Like, like it makes it look kind of hokey when you do it that way, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It turns me off. I've never paid for any kind of self-help or spiritual help, anything like that online. Like, that's never appealed to me. It actually, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it. Like, I disregard it. It turns me off when I see that. I'm like, I'm all set with that. And like you said, it does seem gimmicky, because what do I need it? And that's the thing though, too. It's not like they're forcing people to pay. People are paying for this. So, I mean, we can't really criticize, the guys that are doing it, because it's like, well, if people are willing to pay, they wouldn't have a business in the first place. So
It's very true.
obviously they're meeting some kind of need in people's lives. So shout out Joe Dispenza. Keep doing your thing, man, I guess.
I don't know. It feels like they're preying on people to me. It feels like they're preying on people who are vulnerable and who have good money, obviously. Or or worse, yeah, maybe they're not rich, but they're so desperate for help that they're willing to take a chance and pay $5,000 to go spend an afternoon with this guy. And to me, that's, again, hopefully it helps those people. Hopefully they get something out of it. But yeah, it just seems to be a conflict of interest for somebody who's like a spiritual teacher to be selling products and books and guided meditations. And it's not just that they're selling the products. It's like you buy the book and you're like, okay, I got the book like that. So I got everything I need. I start reading the book, but it's like, oh no, wait, on top of the book, in the book, it references this other thing that you have to buy. And it's like, what the fuck is this? Like, that's, am I the only one who thinks that's a bit of a ripoff? Like, I don't know. Right. If it'd be one thing if it's like, oh yeah, by the way, I sell, guided meditations. It's like, oh, okay, cool. But no, it's like, you need this in order to get the most out of the book, and you need this guided meditation. Like,
that's funny.
Why don't I just sit here and meditate? How about that? Why do I, you know what I mean?
Exactly. That's all you need, man. You don't need any of the books, the CDs, the retreats. All you need is some silence to yourself and to go within. That's it, man. You really don't need any of that. You don't need any podcasts. You don't need any self-help person. You don't need Tony Robbins. All you need is silence. Maybe 10, 15 minutes a day to start off. It's really simple. It's really simple, man. Like, we try to look for the savior and other people and other things. We look for somebody to tell us that it's going to be okay and you're good. But you can only find that essence within yourself.
Yeah.
Truthfully.
Absolutely. But yeah, and I mean, I see the proof of that all the time. It's like, people who have insecurities, you tell somebody like, wow, you're so beautiful. It doesn't matter what you say. They don't feel beautiful. They don't believe that they're beautiful. So it doesn't matter if 1,000 people are saying, oh my God, you're so beautiful. That person feels ugly on the inside. And so all that external validation is useless or powerless to change that person's feeling of themselves. They have they have to find the beauty within themselves. And then when they feel beautiful, it doesn't matter if everyone says you're ugly, because you're beautiful and you feel the truth of that within yourself. So yeah, it's interesting that people are always seeking that external validation or the external solution to their problems, when, as you and I know, the solution is always within you. It's always, at least it starts within you. There might be some external actions that you have to take once you find the solution, but the solution, you're going to find it within yourself, not in Joe Dispenza's latest book or guided meditation. It's profoundly simple. It's almost so simple that people don't believe it is, and they go looking for like these sexy, complex answers out there. And it's like you said, no, you don't need all that. I mean, it might help, but it's not necessary.
Yeah, man. Hidden in plain sight.
Yeah.
It's the irony of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's like an old indigenous myth where it's like the creator God is making humans, and he's like, but there's this, they have too much power. I have to hide their power. Where should I hide it? And, the whale's like, hide it at the bottom of the ocean. And the creator God's like, no, eventually they're going to figure out how to go underwater. Hide it in the sky. No, eventually they're going to be able to fly. They're going to figure it out. And then, like, I think it's like Grandmother Mole, who's like the wisest of the animals. She said, hide it where they'll never look. Hide it inside them, right? Hidden in plain sight. And it's like, fuck, that's it right there, baby. It's in you. Yeah. The last place you're going to look, because you've been taught to look out there for everything. It's right here, right inside of you, man. And yeah, it's crazy. The best kept secret.
That's the game. That's the game of life.
Yeah, man.
It's kind of funny.
Crazy stuff.
Oh, man.
The other thing that you mentioned too that reminded me of something, like what's his name? Seneca. He's a Stoic philosopher. And one of the things that he taught was that there's like natural appetites and unnatural appetites. And the way that the difference is, like, a natural appetite or a natural desire, let's say, has an end to it. So like, say you're hungry, right? You eat enough, now you're full, you're not hungry anymore, right? That appetite is gone. That's a natural appetite because you can eat enough that you'll get full, right? Yeah. An unnatural appetite is one that has no end. So like what you were talking about earlier, the pursuit of money. You never get full from making money. You always can have more, and you always want more. It's never enough. So that's an unnatural desire, right? So anytime you have a desire that has no actual end to it, that you can just constantly want more and more and more and more, and you never get full, so to speak, then you know that's not a natural desire. It's not something that's organic to your body. It's not like hunger or thirst, or, you know, if you're cold, you get a blanket on you, and now you're warm. You're not cold anymore. That's gone, right? That tension is gone. So I think it's important to distinguish between those things, because yeah, fame, money, accolades, views, whatever. If you get 1 million followers on YouTube, you're gonna always be gunning for more, right? I mean, it's never enough. Why not get more? There's no end to it.
Power is addictive.
Yeah, and you can never have enough. It's not, again, like, it's not like food where it's like, I can't eat anymore. I literally am stuffed. It's like, no, always more. You can always have more power, right? So you're always looking to consolidate it.
Damn. Yeah, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
and you're seeing it, right? Obviously on the world stage right now. It's like, well, if he takes, you know, if Putin takes Ukraine, what's next? Is he going to stop there? Well, probably not. I mean, there's all these other little satellite countries around there, and they're talking to NATO, and you know what I mean? Like, it's never enough. Where do you end? Where do you draw the line?
Yeah, we've seen that throughout history. It's not even just today. Yeah, you just want more and more and more. That's what the mind wants. That's what the ego wants. The super ego just wants more.
Yep.
Yeah, it seems like a parasite. I like that idea. It's parasitic.
Yeah. When it's in charge, for sure. I think so. Yeah. I think, like you said, though, it can be brought into alignment with the whole, because it is a part of you. It's not this separate thing. So I think integration and wholeness is obviously the key. I don't think suppressing or killing the ego. We've talked about this. That's not really a viable strategy, in my opinion. Certainly doesn't seem to be in your opinion. But the best is to bring it in alignment with yourself and to make it serve you instead of oppose you. But when it's in charge, yeah, it definitely has parasitic behaviors, I think. And so I think, shout out to Donald for that, because I, never looked at it that way, but it's true, man.
Yeah, man. It seems like we go through all these trials and tribulations of our practice to be able to resonate at the frequency of just living without motivation for some kind of gain. It seems like that's some kind of goal, to be able to continually reside at that karmaless state of just, you're here and here to give back. I don't want anything. Like, I don't want anything, right? I mean, obviously that's so unrealistic to say, but it's a good ideal to be at the point where you're desireless. You don't want anything from this life, and that's Buddhism, man. That's kind of what the idea of Theravada Buddhism is to let go of all attachments. And it's a great ideal to try to hold in your being, even though you might not be able to be at that 100% of the time. It's still good to keep that in the back of your head. I try to keep that, like, I don't want anything out of this. I don't want anything out of this person or this job or whatever it is. It's like to resonate and just be here now, to just simply be here, just witness this life like a movie in a way, and to know it's all just for show, and to simply, the way we act in this movie is to just be there for others and to give back for others. It seems like that is the gist of it. And that's how you get out of the ego. And that's how you get out of the separate self, the sense of your separate self, and you merge into the one. Is to simply be here, because we have to act no matter what. There's no killing the ego. The ego always comes back. But how you act out of the ego is you act for others. And that's how you truly can escape the ego. It seems like, to me, it's like you escape the ego by helping others' egos. And from there, that's how you merge.
Yeah.
It seems to be the gist of it, at least. I mean, I know, like I said, it's a tough ideal to hold, especially in today's crazy world that shows you that's probably not the way. But I think that's the way. And that's how you reach that non-dual state of immortality, bro. It's like you reside here in that deathless state by acting for others, and you just kind of get lost in the flow. You get lost in the flow of love, the plane of love.
Yeah, the doer kind of goes away, and there's just doing, right?
Yeah,
things are
exactly.
happening, and you're involved, but you're not. Yeah, that's a tricky one, man. It's in all the great writings too, like obviously the Gita and the Tao Te Ching, and they talk about it at length, and it's really hard to wrap your head around, like, they call it desireless action or selfless action, right? Like
Mhm.
literally doing things not from the center of the self, but from a place of selflessness, where it's like there are no expectations. It's just the doing, right? It's just
Mhm.
happening. And yeah, that's a tough one to practice as well, right? Because there's always expectations attached to things. Like when you do something, there's going to be an expected outcome, and it's detaching from those expectations and still doing the work without predicting or without without being attached to the results. It's
Exactly.
just
That's the game.
such a dance, man.
Such a dance. But so it goes. So we dance. There's the dance, man.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Mm.
Yeah, good stuff.
Good stuff, bro. I'm just gonna keep on dancing. I don't know about you.
Yeah, well, we don't have a choice, right?
We have to dance.
Yeah, like you said, there's no such thing as not dancing. There's no
Yeah.
such thing as doing nothing. So,
So you can make this a beautiful samba, like Ralph Smart says. Shout out Ralph Smart. I like Ralph Smart. You know Ralph Smart?
I don't actually know.
You don't know Ralph Smart?
No.
Breathing in that good ass prana, baby. Ralph Smart? No?
I'm gonna have to look into him
Yeah,
now.
look up Ralph Smart, man. He is like he's on a vibe. He's a
Yeah.
great guy. But
Sweet.
yeah, you can either dance the dance, make it a beautiful dance of your life to the best of your ability, you know, going with the flow, the song of life, the Bhagavad Gita, the song of God. You can dance with the song of God, or you can kind of go against it. But if you go against the flow, there's going to be a lot of inertia. So either way, you have to go with that flow. Either way, we are dancing in some way. You can't do nothing, like we said before.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm going to dance. It's going to be a really good dance because this is the only dance I got in this body, you know?
Yeah, that we know of anyway.
The
But
dance
yeah.
of life.
Yeah, dude, it's the only dance that's ever happened, right? It's been happening this whole time, here and now. So it's the only way to engage with it.
For sure, man. Well, I think we can probably wrap it up at that.
I think so, man. Well put, sir. Good chatting with you. Good catching up finally after all these months.
Yeah, man. Got any closing statements?
No, man, I think I just want to let it be as it is. I think you said it well. And yeah, thanks for making time for me and for being who you are, brother.
Same to you. Keep doing your thing. Keep dancing. Keep dancing, everybody.
Absolutely. All right, man. Have a great one.
All right. Peace out.
Cheers.